Gurubhyo Namaha. Good morning, Shubhodaya, and a very warm welcome to everyone to today's symposium on Shriharsha's Kandana Khanda Khadya. This is Nitin Sridhar, Director of Indica Moksha. Let me begin with the prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyamavat Vyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. It gives me immense pleasure, a great honor, to inaugurate today this symposium dedicated to Shriharsha's Kandana Khanda Khadya, one of the most significant works of Advaita Vedānta, or in the Advaita Vedānta Sampradaya, and a landmark achievement in the history of Indian philosophical thought. Śrīharsha flourished around 12th century in northern India, most likely at the court of King Jayachandra of Gahadwala dynasty in Kanyakubja. He belonged to a learned Brahmana family, and his father, Śrīhira, was also a scholar in his own might. Though remembered today as a philosopher, Śrīharsha was equally celebrated as a poet. His Nishadha Charitra, a Mahakavya, remains one of the finest examples of classical Samskrita poetry. So in Śrīharsha, we can find a unique combination of poetic imagination and philosophical rigor, which is also reflected in his work Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khanda Khadya. This work represents a sustained and rigorous critique, especially of Nyāya epistemology. He systematically examines and dismantles various definitions and categories in the proposed by the Nyāya school, showing how each is beset with difficulties such as circularity, overextension, or inconsistency. But most importantly, Śrīharsha's intent is not merely negative. However, instead, by exposing the limitations of conceptual definitions and epistemological certainties, he prepares the way for Advaita Vedantic realization that Brahman, the highest reality, is self-luminous, is beyond the grasp of pramanas and linguistic categories, and is to be realized directly, aparoksha jnana. The work thus functions both as a masterpiece of philosophical refutation and as a critical prelude to the non-dual vision of Advaita. The influence of this work has been far-reaching. It has shaped the trajectory of later Advaita debates and has become a crucial text for other Advaita philosophers such as Madhusudana Saraswati ji. At the same time, it illustrates the remarkable sophistication of Indian dialectical traditions, the debate tradition, their ability to interrogate fundamental questions about the nature of knowledge and the limits of reason. As we commence this symposium, we seek to engage with Śrīharsha's work in its full richness, acknowledging him not merely as refuter of a particular darshana, not merely as his work as a work of a history, but study it as something which is very relevant today to understand, to interrogate questions which are very, very relevant even today. With these words, it is my great privilege to extend a warm welcome to our Kulabadigaru of Indica, Shri Dr. Nagaraj Paturi ji, and invite him to deliver inaugural address for the symposium. Thank you, sir, for making time for this. Dr. Nagaraj ji will be speaking on placing Kandana Khanda Khadya within Shriharsha's body of work. Before I give space, just a brief introduction to Dr. Nagaraj ji's work. Dr. Nagaraj Paturi is trained in Samskrita and Advaita Vedānta by his hyper-polyglot, polymath, and spiritually accomplished Sakala Shastra Parangata father, late Sri Paturi Sitaramanjaneyulu Garu. And Dr. Nagaraj ji is seriously committed to the transmission of Vedic sciences to the present generation. In his PhD thesis, he developed an Indic model of myth criticism of literature, and in his MPhil, he foregrounded Vakyapadiya as the theoretical foundation of Ashtadhyayi. In addition to over 50 publications and about 60 conferences and seminars and workshop papers, Dr. Paturi has designed several courses pertaining to contemporary applications of Vedic sciences and has been successfully teaching them and getting them taught. Formerly senior professor of cultural studies at Flame School of Communication and a visiting professor at University of Chicago, Dr. Paturi is currently the Kulapati, the Vice Chancellor of Indica. He is also a curriculum designer, a distinguished professor, and executive member, committee member at Board of Studies, MIT School of Vedic Sciences, Pune, member Board of Studies at Kavikulaguru Kalidasa Samskrita University and Rashtam School of Public Leadership. He is also the editor-in-chief of International Journals of Studies in Public Leadership and is a member of Advisory Council of Veda Vigyana Shodha Samsthana of Bangalore. He has provided consultancy to numerous culture research, theater and dance innovation projects as well. He has authored scores of creative writing works for classical dance, modern theater, magazines, and has delivered several lectures and other programs for radios and television channels. Again, a very warm welcome, sir. Please go ahead and start your lecture.
Namaste. Gurave sarvalokanam bhishaje bhavaroginam nithaye sarvavidyanam dakshinamurtaye namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. We from Indica organize two kinds of these presentation talk events, conferences and symposiums. This particular event is called Symposium because we have invited speakers rather than papers presented by scholars who are selected on the basis of the abstracts they send to Indica. In that format, today also we are going to have invited speakers who are experts identified by Indica. Indica has committed itself for the renaissance of Indic culture, knowledge, and traditions through protection, promotion, and preservation of Bharatiya culture, Jnana Parampara. For the purpose, we have several different platforms of Indica. One of them is Indica Moksha, head and led by very well-known author Nitin Sridhar Avaru. Under his able leadership and headship, Indica Moksha has been surging ahead with immense contribution. Earlier, to get named as Indica Moksha, this platform was known as Advaita Academy. Advaita Academy, in fact, historically is older than Indica Academy itself. Indica Academy took the form of Indica later. Before Indica Academy was started, also Advaita Academy was there, and it is that Advaita Academy which has got a new name called Indica Moksha, with the idea that not limited to Advaita Vedānta, other schools of Vedanta and other spiritual aspects also can be covered under this platform. Today's symposium is part of a series of symposiums being organized by Indica. General Indica symposiums are not focused on moksha related or Vedanta related topics, because this platform Indica Moksha has that special focus to cover these. Every month we have a symposium. Last month we had a symposium from a very general Indica side. Today, this month we have this Indica Moksha's symposium. And next month again, we'll have a general Indica symposium. Today's symposium topic was, when it was chosen by Nitin Sridhar Avaru, when he came forward and made that proposal to me, I was very happy, not just because it is a very well fit topic for the platform called Indica Moksha, but also because it fits for my other hats on the head. They use this word hats on the head in United States. My other areas of work. Śrīharsha, as was mentioned already by Nitin Sridhar Avaru, is known in the Vedanta circles for this particular book that we are going to cover for the symposium today, called Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khadya. But in the literature circles, he is known for his Nishadha Charitra. When a great personality, versatile personality, polymath personality like Śrīharsha composes works which are magnum opuses from both sides, this is what happens. For the literature side, for the people studying Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit poetry, Sanskrit kavyas, Śrīharsha is known only for Nishadha Charitra. They may not be too interested in this particular work that is taken up for this symposium called Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khadya. They might at the most mention this as his other works. For them, the whole focus is Nishadha Charitra. And Khaṇḍana Khanda Khadya is under focus for Advaita Vedānta scholars. For them, that is the only book. Their focus is all on Khaṇḍana Khanda Khadya, a beautiful work from Advaita Vedānta side. And for them, Nishadha Charitra is one of the other works. That's how it happens when great, gigantic, colossal personality like Śrīharsha composes both works equally as his magnum opuses. But in fact, we should remember that Śrīharsha is not just the author of these two books. From his own prefaces of these books like Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khadya and Nishadha Charitra, we come to know that he has authored many other works also. That is what I decided today to cover, to place him within, to place his Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khadya that we have taken up for discussion in this present symposium within his whole body of work. He has a huge body of work. And within that, where Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khadya fits is what I want to cover today. First of all, we have to remember that Śrīharsha was patronized by kings. So some of his works are actually prashasti kavyas. Prashasti is a kavya written in prashamsa, in admiration, as a stuti to a certain king. There are multiple such works of Śrīharsha which have an ending prashasti. Vijaya prashastihi, Chandah prasastihi, Gaudorvi Shakula prasastihi, like that. In fact, one of the Indological scholars who is notorious for the Indic side, because he talks negatively about Sanskrit and Sanskrit literature, though he himself claims to be a specialist in Sanskrit studies and Sanskrit teaching, he deals with his subject matter in a very negative way. He uses this word prashasti in a very negative way and says, oh, these kings were doing prashasti for the kings, these poets were doing prashastis for kings, and that is how they were getting patronage, and that is how the kings rule and their atrocities, their oppression was being hid by the poets and all those things. But for that matter, we should remember that including Sheldon Pollock, most of the Indological scholars have their own patrons. They get their funds for the departments from some patron or the other. Sometimes they are government funds, sometimes from private bodies. Recently, he was able to garner a huge grant for Murthy Classical Library from the Murthy family, Infosys Narayana Murthy family. That's a private funding. Their departments get government fundings also. We must see how much prashasti these people write to the patrons. They write very wonderful prashastis. It's not wrong. We are not looking down upon or ridiculing them for writing prashastis. It is natural. You have to be grateful to your patron. They give you funds and they are patronizing you, and you write prashasti to them. So hypocritically saying that only people like Śrīharsha wrote prashastis is what we are trying to point out as a very interesting negative feature among these shenanigan scholars. So when Śrīharsha was writing prashastis of kings, it was quite natural because he was being patronized by a king called Vijayasena. Jayachandra was another known king of Kanyakubja, Kanauj area. Vijaya is his father. This Vijay Prashasti is a Prashasti written for him. And we have another other books like Chandak Prashasti, people are not sure because except Nishadha Charitra and Khaṇḍana Khanda Khadya, we are not able to get the manuscripts, full manuscripts sometimes. Sometimes no manuscript at all is found for most of these other works. So we are not able to very clearly say what is the content of Chandak Prashasti. Some people say that it is the Prashasti for Chandas itself, but some people suspect that the word Prashasti is never used for topics like Chandas. So it is also a name for a particular king only, is what people believe, probably, because we don't have a copy of the book, we cannot say. And there is another book by him for the whole Vamsha Charitra, Gaudorvisha Kula Prashastihi. Actually, we should be very much interested because this person belongs to 12th century, and by that time the biographies of kings being written in prashasti of those kings was not established in Sanskrit or other literatures so much, except the Kashmir Vamsha Charitra. That is what is proudly shown by people as a historical work. So all these works like Vijay Prashasti or Gaudorvisha Kula Prashasti have to be proudly seen as historical works. These are important. Unfortunately, we are not able to get hold of the manuscript of Gaudorvisha Kula Prashasti. But if we can get hold of a copy, a manuscript of Gaudorvisha Kula Prasasti, it's a very important historical work. And not just an important historical work, it comes before the chronicles of Mughal kings that were written in like Akbarnama, Babarnama, Ene Akbari, all these things. If we can establish an earlier date for these books like Vijay Prashasti, Gaudorvisha Kula Prashasti, what we can show is a counter to the argument that the historical works that were covering biographies of kings or biographies in a lineage, in a dynasty, were all influenced by the Mughal time works like Akbarnama, Ene-Akbari and Babarnama. Only after the Mughal court poets composed such works, Indian poets were influenced to write biographical works is an impression. But that impression can be removed because Śrīharsha is a 12th century author, and he is composing these prashastis, Vijay Prashasti and other Gaudorvisha Kula Prashasti, etc. Another Champu Kavya that Śrīharsha writes also is actually a historical work only. It is called Sahasanka Champu. Sahasanka is a title. It's a title given to a certain king. Many people believe that Sahasanka is the title given to Vijaya himself. So same Vijay, similar to Vijay Prashasti, he is writing another kavya on his patron called Sahasanka Champu. And he mentions this Sahasanka Champu's name both in Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khadya and Nishadha Charitra. So all these works from Vijay Prashasti, Chanda Prashasti is doubtful whether it is actually a Prashasti of king or not. If it is a Prashasti of a king, even that, and Gaudaur Vishakula Prashasti, and Sahasanka Champu, basically because it's a greater kavya, it's a more elaborate kavya. All these are biographical works about kings which are historically, for a historian's research, they are very, very useful. And we have books from him like Arnava Varnanam. Because we don't have a manuscript, we do not know what is the content of that. But it's very interesting from where he is in the geography of India, being interested in describing Arnava, ocean, is a very interesting topic. If it is really the description of Arnava, uh, it is historically a very interesting question to look at why he was interested in describing Arnava. Some people have the opinion that these patrons of Śrīharsha were the Bengali kings. Because, for example, one of the Prashasti works that he is writing, Gaudorvisha Kula Prashasti, has this word Gauda. The word Gauda is used in reference to Bengalis only. And in the Bengali history of literature also, they mention Śrīharsha's works as part of Bengali contribution to literature. And they consider Vijaya to be Vijaya Sena, belonging to the Sena dynasty that ruled Bengal. So that is another interesting aspect, that if he is doing Arnava Varnanam, does it belong to that Bengal side of ocean that he is describing also is another question. When we look at Kandana Khanda Khadyam, it's a spiritual topic, it's an Advaita Vedānta topic. Did he compose other such Vedanta related topics as books? Then we have these books like Shiva Shakti Siddhihi and Ishwarabhisandhihi and Sthairya Vicharana Prakaranam also. Sthairya Vicharana Prakaranam is really very interesting because it is a counter written to Kshanikavada of Buddhists. In Buddhism, one of the schools of Buddhism considers whole reality to be momentary. So Sthairya talks about the stability of reality. While Buddhist position is arguing for the momentary nature, this Sthairya Vicharana Prakaranam of Śrīharsha is countering that by arguing for stability of every entity in the reality in a logical way. And there is the other book, Ishwarabhisandhihi. Even this is actually a Vedantic work. And this is proudly mentioned by Śrīharsha in his works like Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khadya and Nishadha Charitra. In the prefatory part, he proudly mentions this Ishwarabhi Sandhihi. And Shiva Shakti Siddhihi, some people think that, this is also a book about kings, but from the title and from the ending Siddhihi and the other words Shiva Shakti, we can easily assume that it's not a prashasti work like the other works. It is actually a work on Kashmira Shaiva type philosophical, spiritual practice analysis of Shiva and Shakti Tattvas only. This is a very important aspect in the life of our Śrīharsha, because the work Naishadhiya Charitam is a kavya and it has an intense Sringara element in it. A Telugu poet of 15th century translated Naishadhiya Charitam into Telugu. We can say he did not literally translate it. He created another Naishadhiya Charitamu in the replica of the original Sanskrit Naishadhiya Charitam, we can say. And that work, Telugu work is named, the name itself is Sringara Naishadham. And the word Sringara in the title of the Telugu work has its roots, has its source in Sanskrit Naishadhiya Charitam itself. Because Sanskrit Naishadhiya Charitam itself is having a lot of Sringara element in it. So those who study Śrīharsha from the window of Naishadhiya Charitam may get an impression that, oh, this man is highly erotic in nature, he is very much interested in Shringara and all that. But later poets, particularly the Jaina poet who talks about Naishadhiya Charitam, he writes from the memory that Śrīharsha was a sadhaka. He even writes that he is a celibate. He was a brahmachari and was doing a sadhana. And there are evidences within Naishadhiya Charitam to see that he was a Chintamani mantra upasaka, and he mentions that his Chintamani mantra significance. Chintamani mantra, very interestingly, Śrīharsha belongs to 12th century, and during the same 12th century, there was this Bilva Mangala who composed the Sri Krishna Karnamrutam, and he begins Sri Krishna Karnamrutam with the word Chintamani only. Chintamani Vijayate. He starts Sri Krishna Karnamrutam with the word Chintamani Vijayate, and then he mentions his mantra guru's name Somagiri in the beginning of Sri Krishna Karnamrutam. So same 12th century, we have Chintamani mantra being mentioned in Naishadhiya Charitam. And there is a modern poet in Telugu called Gunturu Sheshendra Sharma, who comes up with a book called Swarna Hamsa, in which the whole book is dedicated to explain that Naishadhiya Charitam has a symbolism also, an esoteric message, mystic message also incorporated in that. Through that, Śrīharsha is talking about Chintamani Mantropasana only indirectly in an esoteric way. Though the original story of Naishadhiya Charitam is not a Vedantic content. It is the story of Naishadhiya Charitam is taken from Adi Parva of Mahabharata, where we see the story. Most of you know, but for those who do not know, Adi Parva is that part of Mahabharata which covers the Vamsha Charitra of Kauravas and Pandavas. So at every point, Vyasa goes into the details of a very well-known king in the Vamsha. One of them is Nala, and Nala's story is full of a Dampatya beauty. Nala's wife Damayanti and their Dampatya is described in this. In fact, there are beliefs among Hindus that by doing Parayana of Nala Damayanti story, either from Adi Parva of Mahabharata or its detailed poetic elaboration in the form of Naishadhiya Charitam, or in fact, some of you may be interested to know that Nala Damayanti story is very popular in folk literature also. There are folk compositions, folk narrative and theatrical compositions and performances of this Nala Damayanti story. So even watching that or attending a narrative performance is believed to be solving marital problems among couples. If there are couples coming and reporting that we are having marital problems in our family, uh, then usually there is an advice given to do Parayana of Nala Damayanti story from the Adi Parva of Mahabharata, or books like Nishadha Charitra, either in Sanskrit or in the regional language translations like Shringara Nishadhamu by Srinath Hudu, the 15th century poet. Or the same was done into Dvipada meter kavya by Raghunatha Nayaka in the 17th century, the same Nishadha Charitam story, but there it is called Nala Charitra, Nala Damayanti story. So this book basically is known for the beautiful, loveful relationship and Pativratya of Damayanti. Basically, Damayanti is listed among Pativratas, and her Pativratya is what is focused on in Naishadhiya Charitam. And another beautiful aspect of Naishadhiya Charitam is the Dautya. Hamsa, swan, the bird, plays the role of Duta between Nala and Damayanti. So even earlier to other Duta Kavyas in Sanskrit, Sandesha Kavyas in Sanskrit, a Duta concept with Hamsa as the Duta is there in Naishadhiya Charitam. But the Duta concept is not created by Śrīharsha. Duta was there in original Adiparva's Nala Charitra portion, Nala Damayanti Charitra portion also. That's an interesting topic because Mahabharata is one of the ancient works. By that time itself, already this Hamsa Dautyam was already covered in the Nala Damayanti story. Śrīharsha takes advantage of that and beautifully brings out the role of Hamsa as Duta through his beautiful descriptions of Dautya. All that is there on the uh, superficial level, but people believe that through this story, like Guntur Sheshendra Sharma's Swarna Hamsa, there is this Chintamani Mantropasana that is indirectly communicated through the story of Nala and Damayanti. So his Upasaka nature comes out through Shivashakti Siddhihi and Ishwarabhisandhihi. These two books bring out his Upasaka nature, his covering of not just Vedanta, like in the books like Khaṇḍana Khanda Khadyam and Sthairya Vicharana Prakaranam. These two are Vedanta Vicharana works. But these works like Shivashakti Siddhihi and Ishwarabhisandhihi, they are Upasana related works. So that shows a multi-sided personality of Śrīharsha, but all connected. There is a connection among all these because even the Sringara Kavya, like Naishadhiya Charitamu, if we understand the way Guntur Sheshendra Sharma brings out, if we understand that it is a Chintamani Mantropasana book only, then there is a consistency. We can see a consistency in all these works. Another very important aspect that we should remember about both these works, Khaṇḍana Khanda Khadyam and Naishadhiya Charitam, that are available uh, to us today, is the erudition in them. Both are considered to be very hard. Actually, the title itself, Khaṇḍana Khanda Khadyam, has all Mahapranas in it. That by putting all Mahapranas in the title itself, actually there is an indirect sound way of indication of the erudite nature of the book and scholar-oriented nature of the book. But the beauty in the title is that it is Khadyam. Khadyam is actually the word means eatable. That is a sweet meat kind of thing. That is really interesting about the personality of Śrīharsha. If you have met traditional Sanskrit scholars, Shastra scholars, particularly those who do Vakyarthas, Shastrarthas, and rigorously trained for years and years in a Shastra like Advaita Vedānta or any other Shastra like Nyāya, Mīmamsa, Vyakarana, the way they enjoy the rigor in the Shastra is really lovable and so sweet to see. Like a mathematics professor in a university says, oh, this proof, this derivation is so elegant. This is so beautiful. This is so sweet. But for those who do not understand mathematics and for those for whom mathematics is very difficult, they might say, what sweetness is there in this? What elegance, what beauty is there in the whole derivation? Actually, I'm breaking my head in following the proof of this theorem and all that. Just as that, the traditional Shastra scholars, if we watch their culture, they have this approach of saying, अस्मिन् स्वारस्यमस्ति पश्यन्तु, अस्मिन् वादे स्वारस्यमस्ति पश्यन्तु. They say, स्वारस्यमस्ति. But for the audience, it sounds as though is swarasyam in vada and in this all rigor that I'm actually not able to follow the argument itself. It is so hard for me to follow. And you say there is tastiness. It is highly tasty. This argument is so tasty, he is saying. And that can be enjoyed only when people start really enjoying the enjoyment that you get from the logic, from the reasoning, and from the multiple ways of looking at the same concept. And the beauty in doing so can be enjoyed only by those who are completely immersed in the scholarship. So, Khandas, different khandas of khandanas are being made as khadyam. I am giving those as sweetmeats to you, can be enjoyed only by scholars. Only scholars can agree that, ha ha, bahuni khadyani asti asmin. They can say. Actually, khadyani can be said because every khanda of khandana is a khadyam, but he is to make it a single book, he is using singular number khadyam, but bahuni khadyani asti asmin. Every khanda is a khadyam. That way he has organized the book. So the same scholarly oriented nature to the same expectation that his our target audience or scholars is found in Naishadhiya Charitam also. Naishadhiya Charitam is so scholarly in its writing style that there is a proverb-like statement in Sanskrit scholarship. They say, Naishadham Vidvadaushadham, Kashi Khandamayah Pindam, Naishadham Vidvadaushadham. Naishadham, same Naishadhiya Charitam, in short is called Naishadham. That kavya by Śrīharsha is Vidvat Aushadham. Vidusham Aushadham. It is this is a medicine, this is a tonic for scholars. So that is, if you study Naishadhiya Charitam, your scholarship gets enhanced. You can become a greater scholar by studying a work like Naishadhiya Charitam, is what is meant by Naishadham Vidvad Aushadham. And a similar hard book, they say, Kashi Khandam. Actually, it says Talapurana. But that being Ayahpindam is very interesting. But because we are focused on Śrīharsha, if we see Naishadhiya Charitam is known for its scholarly nature, scholar-oriented nature, Narikela Pakam. It is in Alankara Shastra, in aesthetics, the intelligibility of a kavya is described through pakas, cookings. Three different kinds of cookings. Draksha Pakam, if the kavya is easily enjoyed, it is like swallowing a grape directly enjoyed. And if there is a little hard work to be put to understand the kavya, it is considered to be in Kadali Pakam, like banana. But if there is a lot of effort required to be put to understand the kavya, you put a lot of effort, but there is nothing, there is no sweetness in the kavya. No, we can, just for fun, we can use the word pashana pakam for such kavya. It is only a stone. But we use a word narikela pakam only when, after putting all the hard work of all the scholarly effort that we put, if we get coconut water like or coconut pieces like sweetness and enjoyability in the kavya, then only we use the word narikela pakam. And Nishadha Charitam is in that narikela pakam. You require effort, a lot of effort to understand the kavya. But after putting all the effort, you get the juice of it. You get coconut water like coconut pieces like sweetness. So this shows his personality. As we have seen, he has written prashastis for his patrons. He has written upasana related works. He has incorporated upasana in the Praudha Kavya like Naishadhiya Charitam. And he is continuing that Praudha nature of composition of a work in Kandana Khanda Khadyam also. And he is a person who enjoys this Praudha scholarly oriented nature of the work is coming out from the word khadyam that he is using in reference to the work. And actually, when Srinathudu, the 15th century poet in Telugu, transcreated Naishadhiya Charitam as Sringara Naishadhamu, he comes up with equal amount of scholarly nature. He composed that work when he was very young. He says in one of the books, Kashi Khandamu, that he transcreated, he says that he composed Sringara Naishadhamu at a very early age. At that early age, he created a very proud work, Narikela Pakam work, Narikela Paka work in Shringara Naishadhamu. So what we are able to see here is that the translator is expected to make it simple, but he is not making it simple. He is creating another very scholarly work, shows that both the original author and the translator are enjoying the scholarly nature, and they are targeting the scholarly audience only. So works that are targeting scholarly audience are also beautiful works. This we should remember. Actually, there is a tendency nowadays to say that what is the use if he is not targeting common people? If everyone is targeting only common people, who has to target scholars? So scholar targeting works also have their value. We should remember. Do we question this when the PhD dissertations in engineering, science and technology like areas are not understood by non-professionals? All the science and technology dissertations are enjoyed only by the professionals in the field. We don't question that. All technical works are enjoyed only by the professionals in the field. So if we really want to get the rigor of the disciplines like physics or engineering, then we have to get trained in that discipline, go to that extent of being able to directly understand the content of the technically written work. Same is about Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya also. We should not say, oh, this is so scholarly, what is the use? He is not targeting common public. Nishadha Charitra also is written in Narikela Pakam. He should have targeted common people, Adhamadhikaris, and all that. No, targeting scholarly audience also is a beautiful style of writing. We should enjoy that. So we are today, the whole day, we are going to see how in this work, a sweetmeat of wonderful arguments, beautiful, rigorous arguments of showing one after the other in this book. He takes up different schools of thought, different schools of philosophy, both Astika and Nastika philosophies, Vaidika and Avaidika schools of philosophy, and goes on showing the futility of their arguments, keeping Advaita Vedānta in mind as the ultimate realization that a sadhaka needs. He goes on showing the futility of the arguments of the different shastras in Khaṇḍana Khanda Khadya. So my idea was to show that there is a consistency in the personality of Śrīharsha in all his different works, and how to understand Kandana Khanda Khadya in its network of all the works of Śrīharsha has been my intention. Focus on Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khanda is left to the scholars that are going to cover Khaṇḍanakhaṇḍakhādya Khanda in detail, piece by piece, point by point. All scholars are going to cover. There are 3 talks which are going to be in English, 3 talks are going to be in Sanskrit. For the Sanskrit talks, I'll be providing a brief English summary after the Sanskrit talk. Those which are in English, obviously, for the English knowing audience, they don't need any separate summary. So that is how it is going to be today. We welcome you to this whole day feast of study of a wonderful work. Actually, the work itself is called Khadyam. So please enjoy the Khadyam for the whole day in all its different pieces. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagaraj. I extend my sincere gratitude to you for this very enlightening inaugural lecture. In fact, the lecture was also a feast, I would say, for all of us. Your insights have set a perfect tone for this symposium and for a rich day full of feasting on deliberations for the rest of the day. Thank you very much.